Hello, dolphins. This week, your grammar focus is predicates. Understanding predicates is a way to be able to determine if a sentence is complete. So, we're working towards knowing all of the things that make up a complete, simple sentence, and predicates is the first part of that. Every sentence must have a subject, which is a noun or a pronoun, and a predicate, which is a verb or a verb phrase, in order to be complete. It also needs to be a complete thought. The predicate is the action in the sentence that the subject is carrying out. So think of all of those action words that you might know: jump, run, sleep, eat, smell, sing. For example, in this sentence, the dog ate the rooster, right? You want to figure out what the predicate is by figuring out what is the verb or the action. In this sentence, the verb or the action is ate, right? Eating, that is the action. The dog ate the rooster. So that would be the predicate. The predicate can also be a verb that's not just an action, but is also the state of being. So the rooster ran from the dog. He was not fast enough. Was is what we call a state of being verb. And we're going to talk a little bit of that on the next slide. Sometimes a state of being verb can be really tricky to picture because it doesn't sound like one of those very obvious nouns like write or draw or cook. So the to be verbs, the ones that show the state of being, are all of these words that we use, like am, I am happy, is, he is hungry, are, they are funny. We also have those in the past tense with was and were. There was a party. There were so many kids at camp. And then we have the to be verbs in the future tense. I will be 11 years old this year. And then we have what's called the present perfect tense. There have been so many happy people on campus today. Again, these can be really tricky to identify in a sentence because they don't sound like actions. So if you're having a hard time looking at a sentence and figuring out which word is the predicate or the verb, make sure it's not, see if it's a to be one, right? Any of these specific words. Okay, take a minute. What is the predicate in each of these sentences? I was born on a full moon. The elephant threw peanuts at the clown. Are these brownies for the party? So sometimes we have a predicate can be a verb phrase. It's not just the one single word. So in the first sentence, was born is actually the complete verb phrase because we're connecting that to be verb with the action of being born. In the green sentence, very straightforward, through is our predicate because that is the action that the elephant is doing. You'll notice the purple one, it's a little bit sneakier. Are these brownies for the party? If you couldn't find an action sounding word in that sentence, remember, are is one of those to be verbs. So are should have been the predicate that you selected. When two or more verbs are the predicate of the sentence, it is a compound predicate. In other words, sometimes we have a subject or a noun in our sentence that's doing more than one action. For example, she kicked and screamed all the way to bed. Both kicking and screaming are the actions being done by the she who's doing them. Stop calling and texting people at dinner. Again, we have two actions that are happening by whoever is calling and texting at dinner. Notice that they are joined by the word and to make it compound. He cooked and cleaned all weekend. Again, we have two actions that this one he is doing, joined by the word and. Which of the three sentences below does not use a compound predicate? Eliza dances and sings all day. We ate and drank at the barbecue. South Carolina upset Duke today. Some predicates, again, remember those are verbs, are made up of more than one word in different tenses. And when you're doing your practice homework, No Red Ink is going to want you to select all of the words that make up the complete verb phrase. For example, we have the progressive tenses. This is when you're going to find one of those to be verbs with what we call a present participle. For example, during October, Melanie was planning an elaborate costume for Halloween. Notice that the action sounds like planning, but to include the complete verb phrase, we want to make sure that we also include the was with it. So was planning would be the action that Melanie is doing. We are going trick-or-treating together. Again, are going, it sounds like trick-or-treating, right? But are going is actually the full verb phrase there. You guys might think going sounds like the verb, but we also have to make sure we are including that to be verb in front of it because that is the complete action that we are doing. In addition, we also have the perfect tense, which is another verb form, another verb tense that's going to have more than one words making up the complete verb phrase. This is going to be a to have verb with a past participle. For example, Severus has practiced making potions for 20 years. Practice, right? That might sound like the verb, but we also have to include the has that's in front of it because that's the complete action that Severus was doing. In this one, Harry Potter will have attended Hogwarts for 10 years after this spring. Attended, that sounds like the initial action, right? The verb or predicate that we would be looking for. But we also have to make sure we are including the complete verb phrase will have attended when we are selecting the correct predicate. And we also have the perfect progressive. In the perfect progressive tense, it's going to have has or have plus been plus a present participle, one of these ing verbs. For example, Emma has been trying to juggle for the entire day. So trying is the actual action that she's doing, but for the complete predicate, we have to make sure we include has, been, and trying. In the next one, Stephanie and Tyler have been studying for the No Red Ink quiz for 30 minutes. Studying, that's the action. So that is part of the predicate. But for the complete predicate phrase, we have to include have been studying in order to get it right in your homework and on your quiz. Take a look at the sentences below. See if you can figure out the complete predicate in each sentence. Melissa has been practicing ratios in IXL for 32 minutes. The skunk army will have surrendered to King Fox by the end of the day. I was running from the snakes in the pyramid. The correct answers would be has been practicing. Practicing is that initial action that you hear, but for the complete predicate phrase, has been practicing would be the correct answer. In the purple sentence, will have surrendered should have been the correct answer, and was running is the full predicate in the blue sentence. So remember, keep saying to yourself, the predicate is a verb, and a verb is an action. That's what you're going to be looking for in your No Red Ink homework this week, so that eventually you can tell if a sentence does have everything it needs in it. Good luck.